Shinran's Passages on the Pure Land Way. Preface. The radiant light, unhindered and inconceivable, eradicates sufferings and brings realization of joy. The excellent name, perfectly embodying all practices, eliminates obstacles and dispels doubt. This is the teaching and practice for our latter age. Devote yourself solely to it. It is eye and limb in this defiled world. Do not fail to endeavor in it. Accepting and living the supreme universal vow, then abandon the defiled and aspire for the pure. Reverently embracing the Tathagata's teachings, respond in gratitude to his benevolence and be thankful for his compassion. Here I, Gutoku of outlying islands, relying on the treatises from India and the western regions, and looking to the explanations of the teachers of China and Japan, reverently entrust myself to the teaching, practice, and realization that are the true essence of the Pure Land Way. And knowing keenly that the Buddha's benevolence is difficult to fathom, I seek to clarify it through this collection of passages on the Pure Land Way. Teaching. To begin, the teaching of the Pure Land Way is found in the larger sutra of the Buddha of Immeasurable Life. The central purport of this sutra is that Amida, by establishing the incomparable vows, has opened wide the Dharma storehouse, and full of compassion for small foolish beings, selects and bestows the treasure of virtues. It reveals that Sakyamuni appeared in this world and expounded the teachings of the way to enlightenment, seeking to save the multitudes of living beings by blessing them with the benefit that is true and real. Assuredly, this sutra is the true teaching for which the Tathagata appeared in the world. It is the wondrous scripture, rare and most excellent. It is the conclusive and ultimate explication of the one vehicle. It is the right teaching, praised by all the Buddhas throughout the 10 quarters. To teach Tathagata's primal vow is the true intent of this sutra. The name of the Buddha is its essence. Practice. The practice of the Pure Land Way is the great practice that embodies Amida's perfect benefiting of others. It is revealed in the vow that all the Buddhas praise the name, also known as, quote, the vow that all the Buddhas say the name. It may further be called, quote, the vow of the right act, which is Amida's directing of virtue for our going forth. Amida's directing of virtue to beings through the power of the primal vow has 2 aspects: the aspect for our going forth to the Pure Land, and the aspect for our return to this world. Regarding the aspect for going forth, there is great practice. There is pure shinjin. The great practice is to say the name of the Tathagata of unhindered light. This practice, comprehensively encompassing all practices, is perfect and most rapid in bringing them to fullness. For this reason it is called, quote, the great practice. Saying the name, then, breaks through all the ignorance of sentient beings and readily brings all their aspirations to fulfillment. Saying the name is in itself mindfulness. Mindfulness is Nembutsu. Nembutsu is Namu Amida Butsu. The passage declaring the fulfillment of the vows in the larger sutra states, quote, the Buddha Tathagatas throughout the 10 quarters, countless as the sands of the Ganges, are one in praising the majestic power and the virtues, inconceivably profound, of the Buddha of immeasurable life. All sentient beings, as they hear the name, realize even one thought moment of shinjin and joy, which is directed to them from Amida's sincere mind and aspiring to be born in that land, they then attain birth and dwell in the stage of non-retrogression. Close quote. Further, the sutra states, quote, the Buddha said to Maitreya, quote, if there are persons who, having heard the name of that Buddha, leap and dance with joy and say it even once, know that they receive the great benefit. That is, they acquire the unexcelled virtues. Close quote. Bodhisattva Nagarjuna states in the commentary on the 10 Bodhisattva stages, quote, if a person desires quickly to attain the stage of non-retrogression, he or she should, with a reverent heart, say the name, holding steadfast to it. When persons doubt, as they plant roots of good, the lotus in which they gain birth will not open. But for those whose shinjin is pure, the flower opens and immediately they see the Buddha. Close quote. Bodhisattva Vasubandhu states in the treatise on the Pure Land, quote, O world-honored one, with the mind that is single, I take refuge in the Tathagata of unhindered light, filling the 10 quarters, and I aspire to be born in the land of happiness. Relying on the sutras, in which the manifestation of true and real virtues is taught, I compose a gatha of aspiration, a condensation, that accords with the Buddha's teaching. Contemplating the power of the Buddha's primal vow, I see that no one who encounters it passes by in vain. It quickly brings to fullness and perfection the great treasure ocean of virtues. Close quote. With these passages from the sacred words of the Buddha and from the treatises, we know in particular that the great practice is not a foolish being's practice of directing his or her own merit toward attainment of birth. It is the fulfilled practice that Amida directs to beings out of great compassion, and therefore is called, quote, non-directing virtue on the part of beings, close quote. This practice indeed embodies the primal vow in which the Nembutsu is selected and adopted. It is the supreme, all-surpassing, universal vow. It is the true and wondrous right Dharma that is the one vehicle. It is the unexcelled practice that perfectly embodies all good acts. Shinjin. Pure shinjin is shinjin that actualizes Amida's profound and vast benefiting of others. It arises from the vow of birth through the Nembutsu, also known as, quote, the vow of sincere mind and entrusting. It may further be called, quote, the vow of Shinjin, which is Amida's directing of virtue for our going forth. However, for the shallowest of foolish beings, we multitudes of the basest level, it is impossible to realize pure Shinjin, impossible to attain the highest end. This is because we do not depend on Amida's directing of virtue for our going forth, and because we are entangled in a net of doubt. It is through the Tathagata's supportive power, and through the vast power of great compassion and all-embracing wisdom, that a person realizes pure, true Shinjin. Therefore, that mind will not be inverted. That mind will not be vain or false. When persons realize pure Shinjin that is true and real, they realize the mind of great joy. Concerning the attainment of the mind of great joy, the larger sutra states, quote, the person who aspires with a sincere mind to be born in the land of happiness shall reach the full illumination of wisdom and acquire virtues unexcelled. Close quote. Further, the sutra states, such a person is, quote, one of great majestic virtue. Moreover, he or she is, quote, a person of vast and excellent understanding. This Shinjin is indeed the superlative means of sweeping away doubt and attaining virtues. It is what is truly manifested in the sutra, all virtues being fulfilled instantly in it. It is the wondrous way of attaining longevity and deathlessness. It is the pure shinjin of vast, majestic virtue. Hence, whether with regard to practice or to shinjin, there is nothing whatever that has not been fulfilled through Amida Tathagata's directing of virtue to beings of the pure vow mind. It is not that there is no cause, or that there is some other cause. Let this be known. Realization. The realization attained in the Pure Land Way is the wondrous fruition attained through Amida's perfect benefiting of others. It arises from the vow of necessary attainment of nirvana, also known as, quote, the vow of the realization of great nirvana. It may further be called, quote, the vow of realization, which is Amida's directing of virtue for our going forth. This realization is purity, reality, and no birth, ultimate and consummate. Concerning the supreme nirvana, the passage teaching in the fulfillment of this vow in the larger sutra states, quote, the sentient beings born in that land all dwell among the truly settled, for in that Buddha land there is not one who is falsely settled or not settled. Close quote. Further, the sutra states, quote, the words, quote, human beings and, quote, devas are used simply in accordance with the usage elsewhere. Their countenances are dignified and wonderful, surpassing things of this world. Their features, subtle and delicate, are not those of human beings or devas. All receive the body of naturalness or of emptiness, the body of boundlessness. Further it states, necessarily one achieves the abandoning of this world, transcending and parting from it, and attains birth in the land of peace. One cuts off crosswise the 5 evil courses, and the evil courses close naturally. Ascending the way is without limit. To go is easy, and yet no one is born there. Never at variance with that land, one is drawn there by its spontaneous working. Close quote. With these sacred words of the Buddha, we know clearly that when foolish beings, possessed of all blind passions, the multitude of beings caught in birth and death and defiled by evil karma, realize mind and practice that Amida directs to them for their going forth, they come to dwell among the truly settled of the Mahayana teaching. Those who dwell among the truly settled necessarily attain nirvana. When one necessarily attains nirvana, one attains eternal bliss. Eternal bliss is great nirvana. Great nirvana is the fruit that manifests itself in the field of benefiting and converting others. This body is the uncreated Dharma body. The uncreated Dharma body is the body of ultimate equality. The body of ultimate equality is tranquility. Tranquility is true reality. True reality is Dharma nature. Dharma nature is suchness. Suchness is oneness. Hence, whether with regard to the cause or its fruition, there is nothing whatever that has not been fulfilled through Amida Tathagata's directing of virtue to beings out of the pure vow mind. Because the cause is pure, the fruit is also pure. Reflect on this.